Hey everyone, today is July 25th, 2023, and we are now pulling up on this beaver swamp that's been a problem this year. Wow, look at the sediment in the road. Look at that erosion. There must have been a ton of water coming into these beaver ponds during the heavy rains Massachusetts had this month. The water does not seem abnormally high. It looks like it was recently brought down, so somebody may have just unclogged it. It's very low. I'm surprised compared to some of the beaver floods we've been seeing. What does this new sign say? And then we're gonna come out and look at this. Flooded road. Wow, look at the parking space just absolutely destroyed by water. Very rocky. This was so smooth before. Let's get out and see. Wow, good amount. Even have some of the yellow line coming apart from over there. It's just peeling the top layer of asphalt off. And look at the rapids and everything just going right into the beaver swamp. So they may have unclogged it because it went over the road. See how this thing says flooded? I believe this was probably facing the other way, or someone moved it, because the water would likely cross further down, not right here. That's the lowest spot. And if this thing was blocked like it usually is when we come out here, that was an Allen wrench I just stepped on if you heard it. Yeah, look at the evidence. This road had so much water going down in these torrential rains that we've had over the past couple months. It's been like the wettest year I've ever seen for this area. Also one of the coolest years. Look at this. Got this big sandbar forming from all the sediment it washed down the road. This whole road had so much water because we've been having storms that I've never seen in my life before. Well, that's a lie. We had a couple back in the day, a couple years back when I used to do all those giant street flood videos, but we haven't had it in a while. And now they're taking such good care of it, we don't get the opportunity for them anymore. But anyways, we had between 3 and 4 inches in my area, at least. Here, I believe they said it was worse. Come down in 20 minutes. So that's like an inch every 5 minutes or so. They removed the entire thing, the DOT. They just ripped the entire grate off, and it wasn't damaged before. The excavator really bent it, getting it out of here. Now you gotta think, they literally could not see this. If this road was flooding underwater, I believe this entire structure was underwater, so they couldn't really see what they were grabbing. So you can't blame them for that. And what is this? Did we see that before? I'm wondering why this new thing is here. What is that? Is that part of a trap? I don't know. But we look down. There's a little bit of debris, but honestly, everyone, I'm not even going to bother getting camera number 2 out because we aren't going to make that huge of a difference. See this here? It's got this cable here going up to the rail so you can't steal it. And I'm thinking this is part of a beaver trap, right? Absolutely. And they're trying to kill the beaver. They're literally trying to kill the beaver. And I'm surprised they would put this next to the roadway without any kind of warning for someone who might come down here. So this thing's basically like a bear trap, if you've ever seen one of them. You know how a bear trap works? You step in the middle and the big claw grabs your foot, and it's so painful. But this here, I've never seen this before. So this is intended to kill the beaver. The beaver is going to come in here and you see they put some kind of bait here wrapped in these oak tree leaves. See that? It looks like crap, but it's obviously some kind of bait they wrapped up here. And when the beaver steps on that trigger right there to get that, this thing's going to close. Looking at the springs, it may not kill the beaver. It may hold it underwater until it drowns. But this will result in the beaver's death. So if they are successful with killing the beaver here, this is usually a third party, not the state actually doing it, but hired by the state. This won't be a problem anymore. But considering this swamp, there's a swamp up there, there's a swamp downstream. Since I've been coming to this location, I've showed you guys, when we first started, the water coming from these pipes was pouring. Now it's just coming out because they have a dam down here somewhere making this water closer to the road, closer and closer. So I want to stay away from that trap there. I don't want to accidentally get that thing on me. So I just want to step down here And look at it, you can see the nice riverbed. The mud hasn't been building up, it's been able to wash through. So I want to get down in here and try to remove by hand what little bit there is. This is very slimy, this big piece. This is actually the first time I've ever seen a trap like that, and I'm kind of disappointed in the state of Massachusetts, you know, because Massachusetts is supposed to be a state that, you know, they really are supposed to care about the environment. Every other beaver trap I've ever seen was a have-a-heart trap or some other make, but you know what I mean, a live catch trap. Beavers are big animals. You can't use a raccoon trap. You need the next size up, which is usually advertised for catching, what, coyotes, I think it says on the packaging. Okay, we got down to the bottom. There's a couple things in front of it. We're going to continue by hand right now to get out of here. So it looks like the state has absolutely had it with the beavers. They must have flooded this area so bad, because the amount of storm surge going down the road from that torrential rain, these pipes, even if they were open, I don't think could have handled it. The amount of evidence from the water that was coming on down here. Just got whipped in the face a little by that one. All right, so, okay, this one was really jammed in there by the beavers, because the beavers are very good engineers. They're smart enough to know that they got to jam a couple into the mud, then they can build against it like a rack. All right, we got this thing down to the bottom, and this one was stuck in the mud real hard. Okay, we got them all open. What do you guys think of this? I never noticed this before. Oh, that one got temporarily stuck. That scared me when it started making noise. That'll get out of there in a minute. Let's just send something down like a battering ram. This pile might get it out. Let's see. Yeah, got it. Anyways, what do you guys think of this styrofoam here? And it looks like plastic. What could this have been around the edge of the pipe? Kind of looks like styrofoam. With my auto stabilization, I don't think you guys can tell, but I don't know why my hands are very shaky today for some reason. This mud here is very thick. Let's stay away from that and not fall into this thing. That's kind of sad that Massachusetts, the state that's supposed to be all about environmental protection, is killing the beavers instead of relocating them like my state does most of the time. I've found giant traps before to relocate them. The beavers are usually relocated to places that are very drought prone. A lot of the eastern beavers here get relocated out to the west a lot of times. Look at this, they got to do some trimming. You can't even see that dry fire hydrant. See how the dry fire hydrant goes into the ground where it shouldn't be able to freeze in the winter inside the hill, comes out to a big strainer or structure deep enough in the water where it wouldn't be able to freeze, and that's your fire hydrant. You got to pump water out of that into a tanker truck when you live in a place that does not have city water. So I just want to take a little walk down here to where the water was most likely flooding over. This is the low spot, probably where most of it was happening. This has been a wet year. This has never been filled with water. It also might be the water table from them backing up the whole swamp. This used to be just a tiny little orange pool of iron bacteria. So I guess I came at the right time. There's barely anyone on this road today. It's amazing. This swamp here, it's noticeably low because the state had to come out and unclog it. Somebody really sideswiped that pole. See the road deterioration here? It's slowly slipping into the water from the water being too high. This guardrail definitely wouldn't have its recommended structural strength because those poles never use... Whoa, what was that? Snake or turtle? Something just went in there. These poles wouldn't have their structural strength they're supposed to if it was to be hit. This was most likely a snowplow scraping along this right here. Or this by the mark. Someone definitely went up on top of this rail. And that's why you don't see rails like this. If you hit it, it flips a car. That's why new ones have to have a good bumper with a cable. It's supposed to quickly stop your vehicle And the first couple poles, if you've ever taken a look at one of those on a guardrail, they're supposed to be able to bend over and disconnect the way they're made. They have slots, so under impact, the bolt can just come out. If they're installed correctly, you'd be amazed how many times the DOT does not know how to install a guardrail properly. It's literally half the time guardrails are not assembled correctly. It's amazing that they don't train them on how to do that. Now you see over here all these bushes. If I zoom in, you can tell the water line was about a foot higher or so for the majority of the year. That's why there's no leaves growing down at that point. Here's the other culvert pipe we always check out in the swamp, right here. It's right underneath that guardrail I just showed you. Where's the pipe? Right there. We've never found a blockage on that, amazingly. The beavers never touched it. They probably don't realize it's there because it's underwater, not moving much water. Pretty quiet. This year, because of all the rain, I'm happy. All these gigantic white pine trees, they're filling back in. They're all growing pine cones. The past couple of years, it's been so dry, none of them have been producing pine cones. Last year, most of these trees were actually brown. I actually said in one of my videos of this location last year that I thought a lot of these trees would be dying. Maybe it was early spring before the rain started. These trees, I said, were all about to die, and they all just came right back from all the rain. You might say they're right next to the water. How's that possible? Pine trees' root systems stretch wide and far, but they rarely go more than 2 feet deep, so they just cannot reach the water. That was a bird that time. That scared me. It's amazing to see. Even that one on the end here that still looks, not this little one, that one, it still looks sick, but it produced a massive amount of pine cones. A lot of the evergreens, whether it's balsam fir or a pine tree, I'm seeing them this year literally dripping sap all over themselves. Usually starting from the pine cones, you can see them literally leaking sap all over the place. They haven't done that the past couple years, so it results in bugs absolutely destroying, eating the trees, making holes in the trees, killing them. But this year, all that sap is supposed to protect the trees. Bugs will get stuck in it before they even get the chance to destroy. So a lot of the trees are coming back really nice this year. They're able to protect themselves because they're properly watered. It's awesome. After all this rain, it finally seems like this late July into next month at least, it's gonna get drier. Almost every single day the past couple months we had an 80-90% chance of rain. Tomorrow is 60%, then we got a bunch of 40% chance days, which means it probably won't even happen. It's good that we're starting to dry out a little bit because this year we actually have so much water that it seems like with all this water that the trees are actually drowning a little bit. And there's a city vehicle slowing down wondering, what is he filming? I thought he was gonna stop and talk to me. I'm amazed he didn't. I can tell by the blue plate. Every official vehicle, whether it's a city vehicle or a cop, they all have a blue plate if you're in this state. School bus, no, they do not, though. I heard a frog. I wonder if that city vehicle is going to turn around because he stopped in the road down there. Anyways, it's good that we got a few nice hot sunny days because these trees are going to get a little chance to dry out and then they can absorb all the sun. There hasn't been a lot of sun this year. It's been cloudy almost every day or wildfire smoke almost every day. So it's good that we got a little stretch of weather now that's dry. And it's good that we still have many chances in the forecast of rain. And I hope today's video was interesting, everybody. Thanks for watching and have a great day. I am a little sad and disappointed in Massachusetts for literally killing the beavers instead of actually moving them like they always claim they do. So the state of Massachusetts did lie about that. Every time I've asked any park ranger or anyone, they say they're relocated with traps. And for the most part they are. I always find have-a-heart traps around. Well, I have found them, not always, but I assume that's what they were typically using. A lot of times private companies, like logging companies, they'll just go out and shoot them. Those are private companies. The government doesn't get involved with that. But this is a disappointment and a shame that they're doing that. This is the city vehicle that passed me really slow. Now he has turned around. Look at this. What's all this water? It hasn't rained in a few days. Is this the water table? Because I doubt this area has city water. Oh, it's a clogged culvert coming out of that person's yard, definitely. Yeah, it's not a water main break. They don't have city water around here. So that's why this guy's in the area going slow, looking for that. The guy's not even in there. He must have gone to one of the houses to talk to him. This road, look, it's got a lot of damage along it. Just falling apart. But I have to be honest, the neglect of the edge of the road, all the vegetation, actually saved it a whole bunch. You look at a state like New Hampshire, they repave their roads every couple years because they got a lot of infrastructure money. But they also on the edge of the road, so you have a solid place to pull over. I asked them what it was for. The state of New Hampshire told me that they put an edging on the road a couple feet wide of gravel, and they steamroll it flat. Gravel and sand that they use on the edge of the road cannot be held together. Grass doesn't grow in it to hold it together. So when you get a big storm, the edge of the road washes away and starts digging underneath the pavement. That's why if you've seen on the news, New Hampshire and parts of Maine had so much damage, because they're not letting the grass grow up to the road. And some people in my comments may say, well, that's because if a car pulls over, it might start a wildfire. This part of the country is usually very wet. We don't have a problem with fires starting like that. So that is definitely not the reason. And why don't they just pave it a couple feet over? That would solve the whole thing if the grass was able to grow right against the pavement. It's when water can get underneath the loose sand that they're building the road with. And I'm going to have to give you guys an example next time I'm in New Hampshire. Not that, but I find it interesting. There's certain roads in New Hampshire, they pave them literally every 2 or 3 years, but they don't rip it up. They don't even mill it to make it rough. They just sprinkle oil over the road to make the next layer stick. And there's certain areas, the pavement is literally 2+ feet thick. Every couple of years, they just keep adding a layer on top of a layer on top of a layer to make the road look nice, I guess. But I do see the benefit. When you have big, heavy trucks, it's better to have thicker asphalt. But then you go look at a storm drain, because they're not moving the structures every single time to make them higher. You have these dangerous holes on the edge of the road on certain roads. The storm drain's down inside like a little funnel that goes down like 2 feet. If you hit that in the middle of the night and they're not marked, that's going to be pretty dangerous, I think. But the pavement gets really high, and I'm definitely going to make an example of that next time I'm in New Hampshire. I want to show that in a little short, because that's pretty interesting when they do that. And just imagine if they had to replace a water main break or something, what a pain in the butt it would be to get rid of 2 feet thick of asphalt out of the road to cut it open. Can't imagine how difficult that would be to do any sort of repair under a road that thick. Maybe, I don't know. I'm clueless why they need it that thick, because it just seems like it could be a nightmare if that road needs to be replaced or it starts washing out from beneath. Especially if it starts washing out from a failed pipe they don't know about. New Hampshire doesn't have a problem really with failed pipes. They inspect them usually twice a year in that state. At least the state-owned roads, not the town roads. Imagine if a pipe for some reason started creating a sinkhole under a road that's 2 feet thick. That sinkhole would get so big before the road even started buckling or gave out, because it's got so much of its own structural strength. And I wonder what we're coming up to right now. I went through a construction zone in Mass earlier, and I'm sure glad I didn't have to drive through it, but they were directing people right over the oil that they were about to pave on top of. I would have refused to drive through that, and I would have turned around. Because you're just going to spray that up, and that's going to be so hard to get off. If you have that on your tires, rocks and other garbage are going to stick to you, making you off balance. They're cutting down a bunch of trees here. Oh, yeah. If you've seen my last video, I mentioned this is such a beautiful shady road, and they're directing me around the cop way up there. This is such a beautiful shady road, and they are cutting down all the trees. See all the X's? I pointed out all the X's last time, and yeah. This whole road is not going to be shady anymore. They're cutting it so far back, and I'm not sure why. certain states, they say it's dangerous to have a tree that close to the road. But I tell you, this area's relative temperature is about to go up so much for these houses around here. When you have trees shading the road, it's nice and cool. This whole area in a nice hot day, it's gonna be like 10 degrees hotter now. Anytime the sun's baking the road now. No longer gonna be shaded. It's a shame that they're gonna cut down every tree right here that's within like 10 feet from the road. Okay, so the National Highway Administration wants there to be a certain amount of error on the edge of the road. So if I was to swerve, I'd hit those trees pretty easily. But if I had 10 feet, they say that's enough time for the majority of people to correct the mistake if they're distracted. So that's why they do that. That's also the reason why street signs these days, they're meant to be hit. They're meant to be bent over very easily compared to a signpost 50 years ago, which would have crushed in the whole front of your car. So that's the reason they're probably cutting down these trees next to the road. It may also be a result of the power company doing it, because they don't want to put up with the massive repairs if there was to be a storm. But I think it's a shame that they're going to destroy this beautiful tree tunnel they have down this road. This tree tunnel, the trees are getting a lot of help this year from the rain. These trees were so thin when I visited here about a month ago because of the gypsy moths that have been weakening them over the past couple years. But thankfully, rain kills gypsy moths as it creates a fungus that grows on their hair. So a dry year, gypsy moth infestations are going to boom. But if you have a year that's very wet, it kills them off a very good deal. Because they're crazy gypsy moths. They'll eat every single tree, they'll eat every pine needle, and they'll even go onto the grass, making it look like the middle of winter in the middle of summer. They're not a good creature. I have videos of that devastation and deforestation by them a couple years back. I have old footage of that. If you want to search post 10 gypsy moth infestation. Middle of summer, it looked like the middle of winter, or it looked like very early spring, I should say, because there was no snow. But this area has filled in very nice. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great day.